And we have no light.
Oh,
See, everything went entirely too smooth this morning.
there we go.
There we go. Good morning or afternoon. I guess it's afternoon. Feels like morning. It's an absolutely beautiful day here today. Sun is out. It is so cold. Brr. It's like -13 out there today. It's a little on the nippy side. Do have to say good morning to a few people, to Sue Braun and Bonnie Dixon, Deb Daniker, Jody Schmidt, Eileen Miller, hello, Harlan Newell, Deanna Swindlehurst from British Columbia. Good to have you with us. Everybody's here today. Oh my goodness, the room is filling up. We're going to be painting. This one is pretty simple. This is a fun one, an easy background, cute little chickadees, and a fun way to paint a little bit of greenery. And I'm going to show you how to make snow text. That's going to be fun too. So this is an easy project, and it's on a small surface that you can easily adapt this design to almost anything. So it's an easy one to paint, a fun one to paint. We can just kick back and relax after the nerve-wracking Santa last weekend. And talking about last weekend, I have to say thank you for your support of our Feed the Puppers Fund. In the end, we had $3,370 and change, which is phenomenal, and we're so grateful. So thank you very much for your help and your support with that all year long, not just during our 12 Days of Christmas Live, but all year long. So just so you know, we are very grateful and thankful for that. The prizes that were given out last weekend will be shipping after the holiday. If you won one, they will not be leaving here until after the holiday. The strike just ended, so there is a horrendous backlog with both Canada Post and with all of the shipping companies. So we're just going to hang on to them so they don't get lost. And the same with the original pieces that were won. Those will ship in the new year as well. So just so that everything gets to everyone safely. All right. I thought I saw a question there. Oh, no, I must have missed it. Anyway, but today we're going to be painting Mary. I'm sorry, got a tickle in my throat. Merry and bright chickadees. But before we do that, we do have some giveaways this weekend. We've got some Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes, set of 3. All wrapped up in a little Create bag, along with some Tombow goodies as well as some stuff from us. So we have 3 of those to give away today. We'll do that. So in order to get your name on the wheel, all you have to do is just join us in the chat, participate in the conversation, hit the buttons, all the buttons, the subscribe button, the like button, the whatever button you need to hit. So that's all you have to do to get your name on the wheel. So I will look forward to seeing a whole bunch of names on that wheel this week. So, oh goodness. Patrick is still not 100%. I see.
I hadn't heard the strike was over?
Yeah, they got arbitrated back to work. Apparently, the government has decided to force them back to work. And Lori Ann. Mrs. Claus says Merry Christmas. And Brenda Shock, hello. And Carrie Henderson, hello Carrie. And Kate Merriman, hello. And Sandy Scales, hello sweetheart. And Shelby Thomas from North Carolina, hello Shelby. All right guys, if you are ready to get started on our merry and bright chickadees, so am I. Awesome. Well, this is the piece that we're going to be painting today. I just think it's cute. I love these chubby little chickadees. I've painted these guys, the 12x6. That one is already available. That's the Birds Amongst the Holly is what that one's called. And it's actually on sale this week. We still have that 50% off sale for the Christmas patterns. You can find it in there. It's also available as a print pattern. So this is the one that we're going to be painting today. I just love these. I love these fat little chickadees. I just think they're so much fun. And they're so easy to paint. It's much like the little cardinals. They're super easy to paint. So the first thing we're going to do is develop that background. Now, I've used a knit stencil back there. I kind of like the texture of it. It has a nice wintry feel to it. And it just gives this a nice little texture back there. But you could use whatever you like. You could use a polka dot stencil or a small check. It's tone on tone. And so it works very well. It's not a design that comes screaming out at you. So almost anything back there would work. You could do snowflakes if you wanted to. You could do polka dots or little checks. You could do a swirly pattern, whatever you want back there. I'm just kind of enamored with this knit pattern lately. Now, the color that I'm going to use for this one is cranberry wine. I wanted it a little bit darker than the background, but I didn't want it to come screaming off of there. So that's what we're going to be using for this. Is a little bit of cranberry wine. I love this color. And I'm using a Stencil Pro stencil brush. And I'm going to swirl it in one direction and then back in the other direction so that you get a nice uniform amount of paint in the brush. And then circular fashion, change directions frequently. Nice light touch. It doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. But work in that circular fashion. It gives you a lot more control and it helps prevent bleeding. So if you do things in a circular fashion and change directions frequently, you don't get a buildup of paint against the edges of the stencil. Now, in this case, my background color is country red, and then we're using cranberry wine for the stencil. So it is a subtle look. I love this stencil. I just think gives things a nice cozy look, and it appeals to me on a lot of levels. Look at that. So it's a red on red, and it works really, really well. So I'm going to move my stencil. So all you have to do is just line it up. Line up the design so everything fits well. Tape it in place, just so the stencil doesn't shift. Have I ever used the Decor Media Fluid Acrylics? I love, love, love the Media Fluid Acrylics. I have a complete set of them. They are difficult for people to find, so I don't often teach with them, but I do love them. I love them for mixed media in particular. Brenda Sawyer, hello. You put a hole in your stencil from using it too much? I've done that. I did that to one of my snowflake stencils recently. I just wore it out. Quite literally wore it out. So I'm almost finished. I love this knit stencil. I just think it's so much fun. The first time I saw this pattern, it was with this pattern of a stencil. It was a Renee Mullins design, and I just loved it. I just thought it looked so cute when she did all her little Christmas designs using it. It was just such a sweet look. So I'm going to dry this. I'm glad you like my voice. There we go. So we've got a nice uniform, well, uniform-ish stencil pattern on here. I'm going to grab my sanding sponge and we're going to lightly distress this. I don't want to do it too heavy, but I want to soften it. there's also a bit of a texture that the stenciling leaves behind, and doing this just sort of smooths things out nicely. Gives you a nice smooth surface. There we go. So just giving this a light sanding, nothing too aggressive. Don't want to sand it off completely, but I want to smooth it out a little bit. And I'm going to take a piece of shop towel and wipe off the dust. Take a little bit of water. That just washes the dust off. As you can see, there's a fair amount. There we go. I love this design. I just think that that little sweater look is just too cute. Now, I'm going to dry this. Now, I'm going to use a little bit of soft black. I love soft black with red. It gives you nice shading without overkill. There we go. A little bit of soft black. It's a pretty tone. I love that little bit of red undertone that's in soft black. It works really nicely. So I'm going to grab a nice big angled shader. I've got a big 3/4 angled shader for this. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of soft black, and we're going to float the outside edges with a little soft black. Now, I like it when it's not perfect. I like seeing the irregularities. So you want it dark, but it doesn't have to be a uniform shadow. You can be a little wider in spots. I like it wider in the corners myself. And it can be a little wider in places around the outside edge. And you don't have to get it perfectly dark the first time. You can come back around and add a little more. Even towards the end when you're almost finished, you can add a little bit more if you like. I just like how it softens this. Denise Chavez saying hi from rainy Reno. Hello, Denise. There we are. So a little soft black in those corners. What have I got there now? A little flake. Oh, piece of glitter of all things. There we go. So I like that little bit of age at the edges. Hi, Linda. So I usually will have a look at it, and if I like the corners to be a little deeper, so I will come back in and bring a little more soft black into the corners. It's just a me thing. I like the corners to be a little deeper. And that darker value at the outside edge just sort of brings all of the attention in towards the center, which is where you want it because that's where your cute little chickadees are. So just a few spots where you can darken the edges a little bit just gives this a little bit of character. So I'm going to dry this. Oh, that's about dinner. Tonight I'm making meatloaf. I have a favorite recipe for meatloaf, and it's super simple. I really should put it up on the website because it's It's a super simple recipe. I've done it this way for years. And it makes for a really nice and juicy meatloaf. So at this point, I can trace and transfer my image on. And I line mine up with the bottom. And I'm going to use a piece of tape to secure it, just so that it doesn't move around when I'm transferring. Now, you can tape this at the top or at the bottom, however you like, but I prefer to do it from the bottom. And I'm going to use a little bit of white graphite. I have a nice heavily used piece so that I'm not struggling to get it off when the time comes. Sandy Material's got one with a cable knit on it that I really like. That's a cute one as well. And I'm thinking I'm going to have that one on the site too. I really like it. I just think it's such a pretty one. So the first part that I do is the pine boughs. I don't worry about all of the little branches. You don't have to do all of these, but a few is a good idea just to remind you of directionality. I like the little branches. Knowing which direction those little branches go is helpful. Oops. There we go. So once you have your branches on, you're going to take one of your shape makers or a stencil, and you're going to use the quarter-inch polka dot to draw your circles, all those little berries in. Comme ça. I like using a stencil, that way your berries are always round. There's nothing worse than egg-shaped berries, unless they're intended to be egg-shaped, which these are not, so I know that pine boughs do not have berries, but it needed berries, so berries it is. Call it artistic license, if you will. So just a few of those little branches to remind you of directionality. Those little needles, I guess, coming off of there. And then, once the greenery is done, you can trace your little birds. Now, these little guys are not hyper realistic. They're not intended to be. They're intended to be cute, fluffy, Christmas card variety chickadees. Cute and cuddly, as they say. Cute and cuddly. These little fellas are fun to paint. As I said, the little marks that are on the belly are just to give you an idea of placement, more for direction than anything. And then for the eyeball, use that shape maker to shape the eyes as well, just so things stay round. Round things should be round. Cute and cuddly. Our chickadees are back. Oddly enough, we don't see a lot of them in the summertime, but we do see them once in a while. But we see them more in the wintertime, and they're back right now. And they're so stinking cute. We don't see them a lot in the summer. And cedar waxwing. I saw cedar waxwing the other day. First one this year. And I know they're here, but we don't often see them. I think because their food source is not necessarily in my area, but we do have them. So it was nice to see. They are such a beautiful bird. So I got my little chickadees done. And I'm just going to quickly trace this lettering on. This is the one part where you really have to take your time to make sure that this lettering is neat and tidy. The big maple in my front lawn is full of chickadees the other day, and they're so cute. And of course, we have oodles of blue jays. My husband feeds the birds and the squirrels, so we have oodles of them. Beautiful to look at. Noisy as get out. They are just squawkers. Oops. They make so much noise, but they're just so pretty. And they keep the dog entertained. Oh, we have ravens and crows too. And they're not so shy. But they're beautiful. And those blue-black feathers, they're just gorgeous. There we are. So almost done with the lettering, and then I'll just quickly finish off that little branch at the top. And then we will be ready to start painting. This is the necessary evil, this part, is doing all of the prep. Base coating and getting your surface ready is the necessary evil. Let's see. Hi, Colleen. Is it cold in Calgary today? Miss Deb is in Calgary visiting her grandboys this weekend. Spent her birthday with her grandboys. And our Miss Sandy has been busier than a one-arm paper hanger. And life has just been crazy for a lot of people with the holidays coming up. Everybody's anxiously awaiting the big day. We're doing something a little different for Christmas dinner this year. Well, I usually do something different. My guys are not big turkey eaters. And so we usually have some sort of an alternative, whether it's roast lamb or prime rib or something like that. What is the size of the board? This one is a 5.5 by 8. It's not a, oh goodness, that didn't transfer very well, but close enough, I can see it. There we go. So we're going to start with base coating our little bird. Now, the color that I'm using for our little bird is this cobblestone. I love this color. This is like my go-to neutral. I love this tone. And this bottle is empty, so I went and got another one. So we're going to start by base coating these little birds, and I love this color. And I'm going to use a rigger. So I'm going to base coat this little guy. It's very loose. So we're just going to leave a few spaces open, like so, where the little black on his chest will be and where the little cap on his head will be. And for the wings, this is where I take a little bit of care. We're going to paint each of those feathers individually, like so. And I'm going to leave a small, narrow space in between. This does not have to be perfect. This is just an undercoat because we've got so much else going on over top of this. So there is that little bit right there. And then each of the tail feathers gets the same treatment. So tail feather. I kind of missed the little gap, but that's okay. I know where it is. We just need a little space. Most of it's going to be filled in with a shadow anyway, but it just helps a little bit. There we go. I love the chubby little chickadees. They're just so stinking cute. So individual feathers on the wing. Just leave a little space so that you can see the individual. But that's all you really need. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just so that you can see where the feathers start and finish. That's all that really matters. And then that puffed up little chest. They're always so cute. When the weather's really cold, they get all fluffy, puffed up when they're sitting on the branches. And again, those tail feathers. There we go. Now we're going to use a little bit of lamp black for that little piece on the chest and for the cap on his head. I have a knack for picking up empty bottles today. There's very little left in that one. And we're going to need a little bit of warm white for the eye. I'm going to do the eye first. Hi, Anne. Anne Easterling. Glad to have you with us. So I'm going to paint that eyeball, the whole eye, with white. And I'm going to try and keep it as round as possible. There we go. And then we're going to use that lamp black for that little patch under the chin on the chest. And it's not a perfect filled in spot. It's going to be a little textured. And we're going to do the same thing to the head. I always like to have it a little rougher. And paint around that eye. Little black-capped chickadees. Someone had asked about the pattern sale. It's on until Sunday. Whew. Good heavens. Whew. I'm having a moment. I had to ditch the sweater. Oh my. Whew. There we go. So he's got a little head. Oh yes, Sue, they certainly do. There we go. Karen wasn't making cookies. Yes, they do make me believe in spontaneous human combustion. I'm pretty sure that I'm inches away from bursting into flames. They're brutal. So, almost done with this cap. I do want to take a little care around that eyeball because I'd like it to be round. I've already messed this one up, but it's okay. I can fix it. There we go. Almost done with this little guy. As I said, this is an easy paint. These little fellas are super easy to paint. And mainly because we're not really worried about meticulous base coats. We're not worried about tight, crisp lines. This one is more about creating texture than it is creating the perfect smooth finish. So it's the texture that matters on these little ones. Oh my goodness. Whew. All right, so our next thing, a little bit of either deep ochre or sunset gold. Any deep yellow will work just fine. Oh, I've got some marigold handy. I'll use that. So we got a little bit of marigold. Hi, Suzanne. Oh no, Lillian. I go from one extreme to the other. I have these horrible hot things. You're welcome, Karen. I have these horrible hot flashes, and then for 10, 20 minutes later, I'm shivering because I'm so flippin' cold. And I share mine with Karen Jones. We, for years, have been somehow linked that we share hot flashes. So. Sheila, that's how I do it too. Make a bunch of cookie batter and dough and store it in the freezer. Although at this time it seems like a wasted effort because no sooner are they in the freezer than they've gone through the cookies that I've already baked, and now I have to make another batch. But I'm out of shortbread, so I have to make some more. You call them tropical moments? Oh, they're bloody brutal. And there's nothing tropical about them when they're done. It feels like the monsoon's hit. So look at those little guys. They're already starting to take shape. And now I need my sweater again because I'm cold. Hi, Susan. Oh my goodness. Okay, now I'm cold. A minute ago I was so hot I couldn't stand it, and now I'm shivering. There we go. So I'm back in my sweater again. So our next step is to base these berries. We're going to use a little bit of warm white. I like base coating my berries with white, especially when it's on a darker background. But in general, I like to do it anyway. But on a darker background, it just helps keep the color nice and bright. And in this case, I'm using tea berry for the berries. Such a pretty color, and it's such a nice tone. And it works well with all the colors that are in this, especially with these reds. It just really works well. And again, having them base coated helps keep those berries looking round. Here we are. My floofy birds, yes. Yep, they're not realistic looking birds, but they're definitely floofy. That's because it's probably minus 30 out there. That's why. That's why they're floofy. They're trying to stay warm, poor little guys. So, cute little berries. And as I said, this is an easy paint. It comes together fairly quickly. Something you could certainly finish in an afternoon. So if you needed to make a quick little holiday gift or a tag for someone, these little fellows would work very well. And in the free printables section, there's a couple of those that have the little birds on as well. So if you wanted to do something like a Christmas tag or a greeting card, fast greeting card, there's plenty to choose from in that free printables section. There's lots of little designs that can be adapted easily for all sorts of applications, especially for quick little projects. Our dear Lucy is insulin resistant and sweet resistant. You know why? That explains a lot. You are very sweet. There we go. Okay, so we've got all our berries base coated with a little bit of white. And the color I want for the berries is this one, tea berry. This is one of Decor's newest colors. And it very quickly became a favorite of mine. I've been using it a lot. I love it over yellow. I love it with reds, with pinks. It's just such a yummy color. It's so pretty. And we're going to be using it for berries, for these little white berries. And it's perfect for this. It's an odd color. It's not quite coral. It's not quite pink. It's not quite a red. It's just this really interesting tone. I'd like to see it in a larger bottle as well. I think it would really do well in a larger bottle. I know it would make my life a whole lot simpler if it was in a larger bottle. So, I think one coat is sufficient. Covers that white very nicely. It's nice and opaque. Having that little bit of white just keeps this color brighter and richer, and it's not as affected by the red. If you were to put this directly over the red, it would lose something. It loses the brightness. It stays rich. It's still a rich color, still very pretty, but it loses that pop of light. That sort of orangey tone, I think. It loses some of its heat, I think is the word. No asphaltum today? Oh, of course we're using asphaltum today. I'm not sure I can paint without asphaltum. I have painted without it on occasion. Okay, so Sheila is a dear, sweet friend, and I adore her. But she's an enabler of the nth degree. And I can prove this because she emailed me a link last week, and I ended up shopping, which she knew I would do. So I bought myself some beautiful gold ink and a pen and a few other things because, it's Christmas and I need those things. So, thank you, Sheila. So it was so much fun. Ferris wheel press. Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I ended up buying some gold ink. I have a collection of calligraphy pens and various tools. And a few years ago, Sheila gave me a glass calligraphy pen, which I absolutely love. And it sits with my thing. And the one thing I've always bemoaned is the fact that I can never find a truly beautiful gold ink, gold metallic ink. And she sent me this link, and of course, I have to go check it out. Well, I bought a bottle of their gold ink, so I haven't played with it yet. But I will let you know. Yes, it does go back and forth. I think Sheila got a pencil sharpener one day because I got one and she needed it. So apparently it's, my job to tell her what she needs. So there we go. We've got these great little... Hi, Corinna. Oh, lovely. I have several really nice calligraphy pens. And I spent entirely too much time on their website, so thank you for that. Hi, Bonnie. Good to have you with us. Corinne Wiggins, hello. Okay, so this is nice and dry. I think our little birds need some personality. The only way they're going to get that is with some eyeballs. So I use the end of my paintbrush dipped in black and then try to center it as much as possible on the white and press down. So hey, eyeballs. I've just found that this is the easiest way to get a nice accurate dot in the center of the eye. There we go. So they tend to take on a little more personality. I find it's just kind of creepy to have just plain white eyeballs on something. It's just creepy. I've done that on a gingerbread. Oh yes, if you're into ink and calligraphy, go check out that website. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, I hope you had a wonderful time with your painting club. That's always so much fun. We had a great deal of fun last weekend. At least I did. Like, I had a wonderful time. No, not at all. Glad you did. I was kind of hoping you would post the link. That's one of the reasons I brought it up. Other than the fact that I get to tease you about enabling me. There we are. So now my little guys have eyeballs. Still a little bit wet though. I'll have to be careful. Hi, Corinna. How are you today? What was the total for the puppers? I had given this at the beginning. It's my fault. Okay. At the beginning of the live today, I told everyone $3,370 and change was the total for the puppers fund. So thank you all so much for that. If you weren't here to see it, would do really appreciate all of the support. Oh, good. Good, even better. Miss Sheila. We only get the chickadees in the wintertime. We don't get them through the summer. Not sure why. We do. They are around every once in a while. Yeah, the bottles. Yes, well, I didn't really need more ink, but I found some. And I bought one of the drawing pens. I was pretty excited about that. So we have chickadees, fat little chickadees and fat little berries. So we're going to start creating a little bit of texture on our chickadees. And we're going to do that with, I'm going to use my long liner, my extra long detail liner, and a little bit of Juice Sonia's, and some warm white. I'm going to really thin this out. And I'm going to start under the chin, and I'm going to add little strokes like this. They're short strokes, and there's lots of them. We want little fine hairs. Layers, layers, layers. And I stop just short of the wing. And we're going to come down here and do the same thing. And this is just little layers of fine strokes, almost like hair. Do you see? Almost. Oops. And you're going to go over and over and over. Until you fill in that space. So it's lots and lots of little strokes, one over top of the other. So some are going to be brighter, some are going to be a little thicker. Pardon me. I get that dry throat again. So it's choppy and imperfect. We just want these little guys to look fluffy. Little short strokes. And I just keep layering until I've got lots of layers on top. It doesn't completely hide that cobblestone underneath. But this little guy is going to look a little fluffier each time you put a layer on. Hi, Sandy Barton. Now, when I do this, I like to come down into that black a little bit with some little short strokes. It just makes them look a little fluffier. And don't be afraid to put some heavier strokes in there either. It doesn't hurt. Just makes them look a little brighter, that's all. So a few heavier, brighter strokes in there will start filling in that space really nicely. And it gives this little bird a little more texture. Oh my goodness, Jan, you broke your collarbone. Ow. And then we're going to do the same thing to our little fat friend over here. Super cute. Where is Renee today? He's just coming down.
Just checking up on things.
Yep. He's babysitting the puppers today. Keeping her out of mischief. They're asking about you. Is our maze out training with Renee? No, not yet. I think they were out playing earlier. My husband has injured himself, so he's trying to rest.
Little chubby chickadees.
Chubby little chickadees. Huh? They're fun little things. Subron says hello to you.
Hello.
So, we're just about done with this little guy. We'll put a few more layers in. I just happen to think he's super cute. These little chickadees are cute, cute, cute. I actually, when I make chocolate shortbread, I add 4 tablespoons. I take 4 tablespoons of flour out, and I add 4 tablespoons of cocoa powder to them. It makes a mild chocolate flavor, but still very tasty. Add that to my shortbread. The other thing I do is make shortbread sticks, where we just cut them into slim sticks while they're dough, and we bake them, and then dip them in chocolate. One end gets dipped in chocolate, and you can sprinkle that with, little chunks of caramel or little bits of sea salt. And it's delicious. I like my recipe. Another favorite blend is crushed lavender flour added to. Do I use rice flour? No, I use either cake flour or pastry flour. Oh, the chocolate is very nice. It's a mild chocolate flavor. It's not a strong one. So we've got our little chickadees. So look how fat and fluffy they are. So I'm going to show you, this is a fun way to do these. You're going to need a small angled shader for this. I'm going to use a 1/4 inch angle. I don't often use little teeny tiny ones, but it comes in handy for this. Does the Cookie Monster there ever make cookies? God, no. How much do I add? Okay, for chocolate shortbread, remove 4 tablespoons of flour from the recipe and add 4 tablespoons of cocoa powder. Now, I take the flour out, otherwise the pastry becomes very dry. So you take 4 tablespoons out because you're adding 4 tablespoons of powder. Cocoa, yes, dark cocoa, darkest you can get. So I've got a little bit of warm white, and we're going to add a highlight to the tips of those tail feathers, like so. Nice little float. Don't overthink it. Just has to be a little one. Doesn't have to be big. And we can make it bigger if we need it to be. So a little float of warm white. And then I'm going to do the same to the ends of each of these feathers. So a little float there. Each of those feathers gets that little float as well. Right there and down here. Now, just as I was moving over to put the float elsewhere, I wiped this one off because I put my hand in it. There we go. So see, we got a little float at the end of each feather and at the ends of those tail feathers. And I'm going to brighten them a little. They're just a little wanting, I think. There we go. And we're going to brighten them some more, so don't worry about it. Dried cherries. I like those in shortbread as well, if they're finely chopped. Dried rosemary, chopped, is really good in shortbread as well. Little bits of cranberry. Here we go. So here comes the fun part. I'm going to switch to, this is a 3/8 angle. I'm going to grab, I got one that's a little sharper. There we go. We're going to use a little bit of asphaltum, if I can find my asphaltum. So a little bit of asphaltum, a little bit of Joe Sonia's on the brush. We're going to blend that out quite well. You don't want it full strength. There we go. And I'm going to start at the base of the tail feathers, right here. And I'm going to put a nice little shadow right there. So we get a nice little shadow at the base of the tail feathers. Nobody moved. Tracy lost her asphaltum. Linda, the trick to good shortbread, measurements have to be accurate, and using cold butter. Your butter should be grated. Frozen if possible, grate it and use that. That makes the best shortbread. Now I'm going to shade up underneath that first row of feathers. Look at that. Nice little shadow. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Up underneath there. And I'm going to do the same thing to this little guy. So shade the tail feathers. And don't forget, you got to separate them. And again, I'm going to shade up underneath those feathers. Need a little more juice in my brush. There we go. So we've got all of those feathers separated and shaded. So now they've got depth. We're going to thin out some more asphaltum, and we're going to give a little more texture to the chest of our chickadees. We're going to put a little U-shaped float like so in a few places like this. And those little floats just sort of give him a little more texture. Just like that. You don't need a lot of them, just a few of them. But that little U-shaped float just gives you the impression that he's got little floofs. I love little chickadees, and these little floofs make a difference. So you've got that little U-shaped float, just like that. Hi, Charlotte. Yes, we do have the little breadboard and the pattern available on the website, as well as the stencil. So at this point, we're going to start highlighting these little guys. So I'm going to take some warm white, blend it out well, and we're going to put a little highlight opposite that shading, just like that. So again, another little U-shaped float, but it's opposite the shadow. So it acts like a little highlight and brightens those little feathers. Here we go. And we're going to come back in and highlight those little feathers one more time, just to brighten everything. I like to pull them up, just chisel blend them up a little bit so that they overlap with that shading, just a touch. And you're going to do the same to the tail feathers. Just makes the tail feathers brighter. And all of those little feathers stand out so much nicer. Once you get that little float of white on them, they just look so nice. And now I'm going to dry these, and we're going to put a shadow under the wing. What other color? You could use any shade of blue. Would be really nice. You could do a wood grain look. You could do a stained finish back there. It would look great regardless. You don't have to paint it red. But I think a nice a mid-value blue with a dark blue knit pattern would be really pretty. Or a green would look really nice. But again, a mid-value I think would look great. So we're going to shade under the wing, just like that. Little shadow. Just makes the wing stand out a little bit. There we go. I love little chickadees. I just think they're so cute. There we go. Now I'm going to grab a little more thinned warm white, and we're going to use it very finely on top of the head, just to create little fine lines on the little bird's head. Very fine little stria. Much like you did on the belly, but they're super fine. Very tiny lines around the eyes. I like the little lines. They just give the bird a little floof, but they don't make him look not black. And then the same thing on the chest. I like those little tiny, fine lines. Just helps make him look a little fluffier. So any areas where you feel that perhaps there's, maybe too much of the red showing, you can put little strokes of white in there along the edge of the feathers. There we go. So, fluffy little. And again, we're going to do the same thing on the other little one. I like the ultra fine little lines of white. Just helps make him look really fluffy. That's a nice little texture. Keeps the bird looking poofy. And they are very fine. They're not heavy lines. There we go. They're so cute. I love little chickadees. And again, if you need a little highlight at the edge of the feathers and you want to cover up some of that red that's showing through, I have a little bit. You can do that with fine lines of thin warm white. And if at any time you want a brighter look, don't be afraid to tuck in a few little extra strokes of white if it's perhaps not soft enough looking, or if you want it a little softer. Or if some of your shading is a little heavy, you can soften it up with a few lines of warm white. Look how fluffy these little guys look. Now, I'm going to use a little bit of warm white, put a little highlight at the top of his little bill. Same with this little fellow. And for his eye, I like a little highlight of warm white on the black part of the eye. Of course, my brush isn't cooperating. There we go. So little float on the outer edge of the eye. And then a final highlight with a dot of warm white. Just like that. Here we go. Oh. Hi, Darlene and Serena. Hello.
Hello.
Could you pass me my tea? Assuming there's anything left in it. No? Oh well. Bummer.
Would you like a tea?
I would love one, thank you. So we have fat, fluffy little chickadees. We're going to give them something green and pretty to lay on. I'm going to clear my palette for this next bit. Pine boughs are green. These aren't pine boughs, they're spruce boughs. So we're going to use mermaid tail is my dark value. I've got teal mint as my mid value. And I have, you guessed it, Bahama blue for my light value. And then, of course, we've got to have warm white. Hi, Sue Black. So we've got a little bit of warm white. Love it. Now, I'm going to use, I've got a brand new Zero Rigger we're going to use for this. Now, these spruce boughs, how do I know whether... Oh, actually, it's how you compare it to other colors. So your mid value is usually that mid-tone. The mid-tone that you're using. So I look for a mid-tone, so I've got something in about the middle. Then my darkest color is going to be my my darker value, obviously. And then my lighter color is going to be my light value. So I have a mid-tone, dark tone, or mid-value, dark value, light value. So whenever I choose three colors, it's the mid is the middle one. And that can go up and down the scale. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's always that tone. I could be using this as my light tone and dark forest green as my dark value. So we're going to paint in spruce boughs using, I would usually start with my darker value. So I'm using a little bit of mermaid tail. And I make a little comma stroke. So it's, well, teardrop shaped, more or less. And I alternate back and forth, up the branch like so, with that darker value. Like that. So the dark value first. I like the dark value first because I can come back with it at a later time if I need more of a darker value. And it's the one that's furthest away from us, so it's going to be the darker of them. And that's how I do it. So it's a series of little short strokes like that. Oh, Deb, you must be thinking of Jessica's sister. So, little strokes like that. They're little dropped, almost like comma strokes. They don't have to be neat and tidy. You're just creating a texture at this point. Da, da, da. Pine boughs. Blue spruce, I think that's what it is. Oops. That was a little heavier than I wanted it to be, but that's okay. There we go. Actually, I didn't shade behind the spruce boughs at all. That's just how it looks when it's done. And because our little chickadee is sitting on the bough, I need to run under him a little bit. There we go. And just keep in mind, these do not have to be perfect strokes because we're just creating a base texture first. And this is so much simpler if you just relax and run with it. Like so. Don't worry about getting them perfect. I just worry about getting my hands in the wet paint. That's the only thing. Because I have a knack for doing that. There we go. And then we've got that little branch right there. There we go. So we've got that first layer on. Missed one. And we're going to alternate, overlapping in between. We're going to use that teal mint. So these ones are going to go in between. And again, you're just filling in space in between those darker ones. Like so. Again, they're small little strokes. Don't overthink it. And they don't have to be perfect. And then every once in a while, right on that center vein, in that line, I'll stroke, 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 and then in the center vein, I'll put a little one so that it alternates back and forth, so that it gives you a little softer look. But again, this is only the second layer. So they don't have to be absolutely every second one. If you miss one, it's okay. We have 2 other colors we're going to put in here, so don't worry. This is supposed to be loose and fun to do. Don't overthink it. I'm using a 0 rigger. You could use a liner. I just happen to have a 0 rigger. But if you're handy with a small round, you could use that too. Just needs a small brush to keep the strokes small, that's all. Just like that. Easy peasy. Oof. Easy peasy. So as I said, I'm just using that teal mint to fill in a few of those little gaps in between the darker value. But that doesn't mean that you can't just, dab a few in here and there. Even if they're not absolutely perfect, it's okay. Symmetry is not always a good thing. There we go. So once I've got that one done, I'm going to switch to our lightest value, which is that lightest value blue, which is the Bahama blue. Which I might add looks very, very light compared to the rest. Charmaine, just refresh your browser. That usually seems to solve the problem. So we're going to add a few little strokes in here. And it doesn't matter if they overlap the others. It's fine. Just stroke them in. And I use that lighter value to start filling up some of the other areas. So areas where the red is peeking through. So if there's, one or two strokes that sort of follow the center line, it's fine. We go. They don't need to be perfect. Hi, Joan. I think sourdough is the next thing I want to try. I didn't get into it at the beginning. We did a lot of bread baking, but not sourdough. Oops. See, this is me. I have a gift for that. Yesterday, just before we went live, I dropped my fugly brush and it was loaded with country red and went all down the front of my black shirt. So, no great surprise that I'm making a mess with this today. So those little strokes of the Bahama blue, let it fill in some of the gaps and helps create a little more texture. And it's all about those layers of color that make the difference. And I love having the three values of that sort of teal color, having that that teal mint, and then the mermaid tail, and then the the Bahama blue. I just like that combination, and I think it adds nice texture to this. It's a simple way very simple way to paint pine boughs. And it doesn't have to be that neat and tidy because, thank God for spit. Yes, I couldn't agree more. We're going to be making our own snow techs. Unless you have some. If you have some, then use it by all means. But I'm going to show you a quick alternative if you don't have any and you need some. Because I needed some today, and of course I don't have any, so. I had a friend who was doing some stuff for a craft sale and needed some snow techs, and I had one jar, so I gave it to her. And then I designed like chickadees and wanted some snow techs and didn't have any. So I'm going to show you how to make some. It's quick and it's easy, and I'm going to show you how. So I've got a little bit of modeling paste or texture paste. You don't have to have anything in specific. You just need a texture medium of some sort. And I'm going to use texture paste because that's what I have. If I can find my palette knife. I'm telling you, my palette knife has feet, I swear. Like my bottle of Ashfalten today. Holy smoke. Okay. Where's my palette knife? My palette knife went walkabout. Again. Okay, I have to get a palette knife. I'll have to use one of my big ugly ones for this. Okay. So we got the camera on there. I'm going to use about a teaspoon of modeling paste. This is the one I'm using. It is Decoart's modeling paste. And we're going to add a little bit of either titanium white or warm white because we want this to have a nice snowy look. And I'm putting about half a teaspoon of paint into it. And I'm going to mix it well. Comme ça. And then I'm going to take about a teaspoon of glamour dust to it. There we go. And I'm going to mix that in. Look at that. Da, da, da. So now the glitter is not going to be glittery. It's just going to add a little bit of texture to that modeling paste. And I'm going to use a deerfoot, if I can find it. Kind of like everything today. Seems to have wandered off. I know I have a deerfoot here somewhere. Honestly. They've all decided to go walkabout. I can't find anything today. Okay. There it is. Okay, found my deerfoot. Run, Renee, she has glitter. Yes, I do have glitter. So I take that homemade snow tex and we're just going to stipple a little bit of that texture onto our pine boughs. Not a ton of it. You don't need a ton of it. But just a little. Add a little snow to our... And I'm going to put a little under his belly because I just think that's cute. Just makes him look like he's sitting in the snow. So you can do as much or as little as you like on here. I like just a little. And then while it's still wet, I'm going to do this. Sprinkle a little glitter on it. Just because you can, right? Tap it to seat it and knock off the excess. And I love that little bit of extra sparkle and that little extra texture. So as I said, you can do as much or as little as you like. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be light, it can be heavy, you can make it chunky if you want to. However you do it is going to be fine. You can do this with white paint if you don't have texture mediums. Just when it comes time to put that that glitter on, just make sure it's still wet. That's all. And I love that you can just manipulate this a little bit. Love it. So fun. Little bit of glitter. Oh, you have a glass of Moscato? Yes, I think the Deerfoot did elope with my... I like a little bit of Snowtex on my pine boughs. And as I said, you can do as much or as little as you like. That's entirely up to you. I just like a little bit. It's fine. Give it a tap. And it's pretty. I love that little bit of sparkle. Love the sparkle in it. So the only thing we have left to work on is the berries. And we're going to do that with that 1/4 angle, if I can find it, or a 3/8, sorry. I've got my 3/8 angle, a little bit of warm white. Oh, got that backwards. We need some cranberry wine. We have to do our shading first. So we're going to use a little bit of cranberry wine. And we're going to put a shadow on the bottom right of our berry. I don't quite have enough paint in my brush. There we go. So nice little float, bottom right side of each berry. And I come in from the edge just a little bit. Just leave a sliver of the tea berry showing through. Just a sliver. I like a little bit of that tea berry showing through. It gives the illusion that the berry is slightly transparent or translucent. So we're going to dry that. There we go. And then using warm white, we're going to put a highlight on the opposite side. Again, we're coming in just a tiny bit from the edge. Okay, I need more paint than that. There we go. So just in from the edge a little bit. I think I've got a little too much paint in the brush. There we go. That's a little better. So highlight, little tiny float of warm white. There we go. And then a final highlight is just a little dip dot of warm white on the upper edge of that highlight, just like that. Little dot. And we've got nice bright berries. I've always loved that technique. It makes the berries look so round and translucent. There we go. So I'm going to dry this really well. And then we're going to tackle our lettering. Now, I have a little bit of cranberry wine on my palette. And a 3/8 angled shader. And we're going to shade behind the lettering. You can do this with soft black too, but I'm going to use this cranberry wine because that's what's on my palette. And we're going to put a shadow to the right side of each section of these letters, just like that. And don't forget, inside those curves and under those little lines like that. Now, it doesn't have to be a super dark shadow, but it does help lift that lettering off of the background. Just enough. There we go. There we go. I like that little shadow. It just gives the lettering a little more depth. And that depth is important, especially when you're working on tone. So I'm going to use a zero rigger to do my lettering. And some thinned warm white. I'm going to use a little Joe Sonia's. Ooh, too much. Not enough paint, too much glaze. There we go. Much better. So when it comes to doing this, it's a finer, you're using a much finer brush. So it's a little, it takes a little more care. Do I always put the shadow in before the lettering? You don't have to. I do, simply because it makes it so much easier afterwards than trying to avoid putting darker colors on top of your lettering. The shading first just makes things afterwards so much simpler. Go. There we go. So this finer writing takes a little bit more care. So just take your time doing it, and using the zero rigger. It's a little bit smaller than the number 2, so it doesn't open up quite as much. So it gives you tighter control over those smaller letters. Just take your time with it. You'll find that you have nicer control over it. And relax your hand a little. You will find, and even I find, that if I tense up my hand, if I'm holding on for dear life, it actually makes it harder to do this. Whereas if you relax your hand, it's so much easier to do these. There we go. There we go. There. So now on this, although it's written merry and bright, I actually prefer to do just this simple little N with 2 dashes. So merry and bright. Have I ever used calligraphy? Yes, I have. Just very often my calligraphy pens don't work very well over top of acrylic paint. So we've got one more step to go here. We're going to, well, actually 2 more steps. Going to spatter this with a little bit of warm white, just to give it a snowy look. And you know me, I like my spatter. So I'm going to use a little bit of warm white. I do like my spatter. Gives things a snowy feel. There we go. So I'm going to set this aside for a second because we're going to do these snowflakes. Now, we still have our homemade snow text over here. So I'm going to use a small fugly brush, and I'm going to pick up a little of that snow text, and we're just going to glob some of that onto these snowflakes. Just like that. I love texture on top of things, especially things like snowflakes. I just think they're very pretty. So just glob a little on. Try not to bury the shape completely, but just tap a little bit on, like so. Look how fun and chunky that is. And then I'm going to set that down, and I'm going to do the same thing to these little ones. And again, I'm just tapping a little on. I'm not brushing it on. If you brush it, it's going to fill in a lot of the texture, the shape of that. So I just want to tap a little bit on, just enough to cover, and it'll cover quite well. A little bit, and then we're going to sprinkle that with a little bit of glamour dust. I love glamour dust. It just makes everything look so nice and wintry. And I don't know where Renee went. He's got to come and do the wheel. So those are drying. I'm going to grab my gold paint pen while those are drying. And I love bordering. I love to border pieces with a gold paint pen. Now, I've painted the back of this red. And I love to do this on the edges of things. I just think it finishes things nicely. The edges are so difficult to paint to get them looking nice. So I like these gold paint pens for this, especially for Christmas. Oopsie-daisy. So there we are. I like the look of this. The other fun thing about this is that if you want a little more of the gold to show, it's an easy thing to do. And I like doing it. I like to have that little flash of gold. Gotta have sparkle at Christmas time, right? Living in Renee's world, you can't have glitter, so you gotta have gold, right? So we've got a nice little gold border all the way around the outside edge, but if you wanted to show a little on the front, you just tip the pen towards the front and pull it along the edge. And it puts a nice thin gold border on the front of the plaque. And it's so, so pretty. Just like that. So we've got a nice thin gold border all the way around the front. And it just finishes things off really nicely. Just like that. And I just set this on top of those wet snowflakes. Rocket scientist. So to adhere, these adorable little snowflakes, they're so cute. Look at how sparkly. Love it. We're going to add a little bit of glue to the back of our snowflake. Ooh. And I like to use up a little of the negative space, so I'm going to bring that in so that it sits just inside but overlaps a little. And fill the corner. Even if it overlaps, that's okay. Tuck that little one in there. And then we've got this one. I'm going to bring it down here just slightly. I love snowflakes. You think you figured that out. I glue them onto all sorts of fun things. I suppose they do kind of look like chicken feet. So this is a fun little piece. I had so much fun designing this one. I love these fat little chickadees. I just think they're cute. I love the little gold border that goes around it. I love the snowflakes that go on it. And it's super easy. And then we're going to clear away this glitter. And I cleared that away. And how fun are these? Now, the really cool part about doing something like this is they work up really quickly. And because it's very step by step by step, you can actually do multiples of these very quickly. They work up really fast. And they're super fun. And they're super cute. And you can have so much fun doing these. There is a chickadee printable on my website in the free printable section. So you can go in there and find these. You can use them for a variety of things. There's tags and whatnot. The pattern for this one is available on the website. I have a couple of other chickadee patterns that uses holly and whatnot for the Christmas holidays. I love those. Anything with holly and little birds, I love. So I hope you guys have fun with this because it's a fun one. I don't know where Renee is. He better get down here soon. Just going over some of the messages from you guys is so cute. Oh, the one on the teacup is one of my favorites. The Christmas one. That 2 hours went fast. You're probably having fun. Again, this one is not a difficult project, but it is very cute and it works up very fast. So it's a great way to spend an afternoon. Oh, there he is. He's back. I think he was out with Mace. Wow, there's some great messages. What's next week? Next week is our last live before the Christmas holiday. And so next week we're going to be doing some something really simple. We're going to be doing some holiday tags and some simple little gifts. So I've got a bunch of really fun things planned. So maybe some pins, maybe some tags. We shall see if I get really... Maybe you could talk about the colored pencil class you're doing a Zoom on. Oh, I'm going to be a guest with Cynthia Knox on the 4th of January for a live Zoom class. Am I taking some time off from Saturday Lives? Yes and no. Yes and no. Where Bob is here somewhere. Actually, he's right here. There's Bob. Bob never goes too far away. He's always handy. But yeah, we're going to have just a fun little project for next Saturday. It's leading up to the holiday. It's just a couple of days before Christmas. So I thought it would be fun just to kick back, relax, and chat. Cynthia Knox is a world-renowned colored pencil artist. She is absolutely amazing. I have all of her books. She's a remarkable teacher, and I was just tickled pink when she asked me to be her guest in this class. So I'm so excited. I'm a huge fan of colored pencil. I love working in colored pencil. I don't get to do it as often as I would like. And I keep taking workshops and classes. Oh, Judy, it's amazing. She's phenomenal. I'm really excited about about January 4th. I think it's going to be amazing. Hang on a second, guys. Oh, there he is. There he is.
Y'all done?
I am. We were waiting for you. They're starting to call you.
You'll find out why.
Okay.
The wheel. That's not the wheel. Hey, open.
How do you get to watch? You have to be registered for that class in order to be a part of that. It is an absolutely remarkable piece. She's teaching a class on a Cocker Spaniel. It's absolutely phenomenal. You can check it out at Jessica Knox, Knox, or not Jessica, CynthiaKnox.com. Amazing. Renee lost the wheel. He was busy dealing with something and he too. Super cute. I love these little guys.
Give me 1 second. Might have to do the wheel at a later date. There you are. It's the wrong wheel. Poop. Give me a second to collect some names. Where is it?
There we am. Renee is gathering names as we speak. For everybody on Facebook as well as on the YouTube channel.
Luckily, I already put the ones on YouTube on a notepad, so.
Yep.
Copy. Notepad. These should be my names. Yes.
That's a long list.
Yep. And it's about to get
Longer.
longer. And I take.
The whole list? Wow. That's a lot of names.
Come on. There it is. And then I go here. Those names.
Good gravy, Marie.
Who's that? This is the donor's wheel.
Oh, I see.
Oh, come on.
There we go.
And control. Paste.
Oh, goody. Good to know. Holy smoke. That's a full wheel.
Yep. And now I just got to get it to pop up on here.
Technical difficulties. Getting things to work properly. There we go. We got a wheel. So we have 3 giveaways for today. We have a Create bag full of Dynasty Faux Squirrel brushes and some Tombow professional drawing pens, plus one of my favorite erasers, the black eraser. We've got one of those in there as well, and a few other little odds and sods that we usually throw in. So we have 3 of those to give away. And as soon as Renee is ready, he's going to hit the wheel and spin it.
And the first name is
Melissa Jones.
good old Melissa Jones. Melissa Jones.
That is a lot of names.
Yep. That's one.
What was the gold pen that I used for the trim? The gold pen is a Deco Color gold paint pen. And you can find them on Amazon. They're inexpensive. Well, reasonably inexpensive anyway.
Number 2. I think. There we go.
Number 2. The next winner is Melina Lanka. I do use Posca pens, but for a true metallic, this is what I use. Oh, that wheel is huge. Yes, it is huge. It's full, full, full.
There we go. Melina.
And the last one goes to
I can't even read that.
Grace Bennett. Awesome. So goodies going to Grace Bennett. Grace is in Ontario. Niagara Falls, I do believe.
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
So Grace Bennett, Melissa Jones, and Melina Lanka are our winners today.
There you go.
So thanks everybody for joining us as you do every Saturday. We greatly appreciate it and hope you enjoy yourself when you're here. We have an awesome team of people that help us out in the chat. Linda Safranco and Jessica Killeran and Sheila Landry. Thank you so much for your help every
Robin
week.
Storm.
And Robin Storm. Can't forget Ramen. Appreciate your help every week. And to everyone, we will see you next Saturday. We're going to have a little fun doing some festive stuff for the holidays. It's our last live before Christmas, so sit down with
Last one for the year?
No.
No, you got something planned?
I do, of course I do.
Right on.
So pour yourself a cup of tea, pour a glass of wine if you like. It is the holidays after all. Help you get into the Christmas spirit. So we will see you next Saturday. Thanks for joining us. Mwah. We love you. Stay safe.
And pet your dog.
And pet your dog.